You probably think running an apple under the tap makes it safe to eat, but scrubbing the skin doesn't remove the chemicals that have already grown into the flesh of the fruit. According to EPA data, the average American has detectable levels of 50 different pesticides in their bloodstream. You don't even have to eat to be exposed. In the American South, 75% of rainfall is contaminated with glyphosate, the active ingredient in Roundup. Starting in the mid-1990s, medical researchers noticed a steep, simultaneous spike in diseases affecting completely different organ systems. Autism rates doubled every few years. Alzheimer's in women shot sharply upward. Parkinson's in men tracked alongside it, paired with surging autoimmune disorders. Human genetics do not change that fast. Experiencing an explosion of disparate diseases all at once points to a single systemic breach in how our bodies defend themselves against the environment. To understand how this breach happened, we have to look back to the 1930s. Decades of poor farming practices killed the topsoil across the American Midwest, leading to the starvation and severe agricultural collapse of the Dust Bowl. A few years later, World War II ended. The massive petroleum industry that had fueled fleets of tanks and planes suddenly found itself with a massive surplus of oil and no wartime market. The industry realized they could extract nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium from that leftover oil to manufacture chemical-based fertilizers. They sold it to desperate farmers as a modern replacement for healthy soil, an era heavily marketed as the Green Revolution. But those synthetic fertilizers lacked vital nutrients found in living dirt. Crops grown in this chemical soup became weak, and their natural immune systems plummeted. To keep these frail plants alive against pests and weeds, the chemical industry introduced another product, synthetic pesticides. In a matter of decades, we abandoned thousands of years of resilient, biological farming and locked our entire food supply into a highly fragile, chemical-dependent loop. The most successful chemical to emerge from this system is glyphosate. For decades, the chemical industry has claimed this weed killer is perfectly safe for humans because it targets the shikimate pathway, an enzyme system found in plants that human cells simply do not possess. That defense leaves out a critical piece of human biology. While our human cells don't have the shikimate pathway, the trillions of bacteria living inside our gut absolutely do. And those bacteria use that pathway to manufacture the essential amino acids we need to survive. When we eat food covered in glyphosate, we swallow a broad-spectrum antibiotic, severing vital bacterial communication networks. Without these microscopic factories, we lack the essential amino acids to build protein structures. Our immune system breaks down, lacking materials to repair itself. We are structurally starving our own cellular infrastructure because we are actively poisoning the exact microscopic factories meant to sustain it. Beyond starving us, these chemicals have a dangerous off-target effect. They are directly toxic to tight junctions, microscopic Velcro-like proteins holding cellular membranes together. Tight junctions are responsible for keeping your gut lining sealed. They also form the highly selective blood-brain barrier, which protects your central nervous system from foreign invaders. When that cellular Velcro breaks, our barriers turn into leaky sieves. Toxins and bacteria flood directly into the bloodstream. Once inside, these chemicals act as endocrine disruptors. By mimicking hormones, they force their way into receptors, severely altering reproductive health and fetal development. The sharp rise in autism, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's beginning in 1996 tracks precisely with this loss of barrier integrity. By destroying these tight junctions, we have left the body's most protected sanctuaries, the brain and the womb, completely exposed to a toxic environment. The heaviest burden of this exposure falls on two groups. Developing children, whose blood-brain barriers and immune systems are still forming, suffer higher rates of developmental disorders, and agricultural workers, facing massive, acute exposure on a daily basis, suffer severely elevated rates of poisoning and chronic illness. These toxins don't stay neatly on the farms where they're sprayed. Every year, massive amounts of chemicals wash into major river systems like the Mississippi. As that water evaporates, it carries the chemicals up into the clouds to rain down on the general public. Current clinical practice generally manages these conditions by prescribing drugs to treat the downstream symptoms. This approach tries to stabilize a crumbling biology while ignoring the environmental toxins that are actively tearing it apart. The true solution is biological. Specific strains of bacteria and fungi in the soil have the natural capacity to digest and neutralize these exact toxins. But they can only return and do their job if we stop spraying the chemicals that kill them. This puts the power directly in the hands of the consumer. Shifting our purchasing power toward organic, regenerative agriculture slowly starves the massive chemical farming industry of the financial stability it needs to survive. Restoring the soil and the food chain through regenerative agriculture is the physical prerequisite for repairing the cellular boundaries of the human body.